Casey Brooks sat in the metal chair and stared at the wall. The room was cold and gray, no windows. Just 4 walls and a door that stayed locked. She had been here for 3 days waiting. The door opened with a loud click. A man in a black uniform walked in. He carried a tablet and looked angry. Casey knew this face. Colonel Harris had been her boss before everything went wrong. "Lieutenant Brooks," Harris said. He did not sit down. "Your court-martial is over. The judges have made their choice." Casey said nothing. She kept her face blank and her hands still. Inside, her heart was beating fast. She knew this would not be good news. "You are guilty of refusing direct orders," Harris continued. "You put civilian lives before military orders. You made us look weak in front of the aliens." "Those people needed help," Casey said quietly. "Children were dying." Harris slammed his hand on the table. "The Zephyrians were watching. We had a deal with them. Your actions broke that deal. Now they think humans cannot follow orders." Casey remembered that day 6 months ago. The alien ships had attacked the farming colony on Kepler 186F. Families were trapped in their homes. Children were crying for help. Her orders were to pull back and let the aliens finish their raid. She could not do it. She had taken her squad and saved 43 people. "Your punishment is exile," Harris said. "You will go to Kepler 442c. Alone." Casey felt her blood turn cold. Everyone knew about that planet. It was where they sent people to die. The government called it a research station, but everyone knew the truth. No one ever came back from there. "How long?" Casey asked. Harris smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Forever." 2 guards came into the room. They put metal cuffs on Casey's hands and feet. The cuffs were heavy and made walking hard. They walked her through long gray hallways to a loading dock. A small ship waited there. It was old and dirty. The kind of ship used for cargo, not people. A pilot stood next to it. He would not look at Casey's face. "Get in," one guard said. The inside of the ship was worse than the outside. Metal walls covered with rust. A single chair with straps to hold her down. No windows. A small box sat on the floor next to the chair. "Your supplies," the guard said, pointing to the box. "Food for 3 weeks. Water for 2 weeks. Basic tools. A shelter kit. Radio that does not work." He laughed at his own joke. They strapped Casey into the chair. The metal straps cut into her arms. The guards left without saying goodbye. The door closed with a loud bang. The ship started moving. Casey felt it lift off the ground, and then the strange feeling of jumping through space. She closed her eyes and tried not to think about where she was going. The trip took 2 days. Casey slept when she could. The chair was not comfortable. Her back hurt and her arms were numb from the straps. The pilot never spoke to her. He pushed food through a small slot in the door twice a day. Water came through a tube in the wall. On the 2nd day, the ship started shaking. They were entering the atmosphere of Kepler 442c. Casey looked through the small window in the door. All she could see was brown and gray. No green plants. No blue water. Just dead rock and dust. The ship landed hard. Casey felt her teeth rattle. The pilot came and unlocked her straps. He picked up the supply box and handed it to her. "Good luck," he said, but his eyes said he knew she would die here. The door opened. Hot, dry air rushed in. It smelled like metal and dust. Casey stepped outside and looked around. The ground was hard red rock. Hills rolled away in every direction. The sky was yellow-brown and full of dust clouds. Behind her, the ship's engines started again. She turned around, but the pilot was already closing the door. The ship lifted off and disappeared into the dusty sky. Casey was alone. She opened the supply box. 3 weeks of food bars that tasted like cardboard. Water bottles that would last. Maybe 10 days if she was careful. A small tent. Some basic tools. A radio that looked broken. A knife. That was all. Casey picked up the box and started walking. The air was thin and made her feel dizzy. Each step was hard work. The gravity was heavier than Earth. After an hour of walking, she was breathing hard and sweating. She needed to find shelter before dark. The sun was getting low, and the air was getting cold. In the distance, she could see what looked like hills. Or maybe ruins. She headed toward them. As she walked, Casey thought about her life. Born on Earth. Joined the military at 18. Fought in 3 wars against alien raiders. Always followed orders. Always did her duty. Until that one day, when she chose to save innocent people instead of following orders. Now she was here, on a dead planet, with enough supplies to last, maybe. A month if she was lucky. No way to call for help. No way to go home. But Casey Brooks was not ready to die yet. She had survived worse things than this. She would find a way to live. She would find a way to fight back, even if it killed her. Sun set behind the hills. The temperature dropped fast. Casey found a spot between 2 large rocks and set up her tent. She ate 1 food bar and drank a small sip of water. Then she sat in the darkness and listened to the wind. Tomorrow, she would start exploring. She would find water. She would find food. She would find a way to survive. And maybe, if she was very lucky, she would find a way to make the people who sent her here pay for what they had done. Casey Brooks was not just a soldier anymore. She was a woman with nothing left to lose. And that made her very dangerous indeed. Casey woke up to the sound of wind hitting her tent. The fabric was shaking hard. She looked outside and saw a wall of dust moving toward her. The storm was huge and dark. She had maybe 10 minutes before it hit. She packed her tent as fast as she could. The wind was getting stronger. Small rocks were flying through the air. Casey ran toward the hills she had seen yesterday. She needed to find cover. Behind a large rock, she found a crack in the ground. It was just big enough for her to squeeze through. She grabbed her supply box and slid down into the darkness. The crack led to a small cave. She was safe from the eye. Storm. Casey sat in the dark and listened to the wind howl above her. The storm lasted for 6 hours. When it finally stopped, she climbed back up to the surface. The world outside looked different. The storm had moved rocks and changed the shape of the hills. She was about to leave when she heard something. A voice. Someone was calling for help. Casey followed the sound. Behind a pile of rocks, she found a man sitting on the ground. His leg was hurt and bleeding. He was maybe 30 years old, with dark hair and brown eyes. "Thank God," the man said. When he saw her, "I thought I was going to die out here." "Who are you?" Casey asked. She kept her hand on her knife. This could be a trap. "Danny Rodriguez," the man said, former Marine. "They dropped me here 8 months ago." He tried to stand, but fell back down. His leg was badly hurt. Casey looked at his clothes. They were torn and dirty, but she could see they had been military uniform once. His face was thin from not eating enough food, but his eyes were alert and honest. "Why did they send you here?" Casey asked. Danny laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "I found out my commanding officer was selling weapons to alien raiders. When I reported it, they said I was lying. Court-martial. Exile. Same story as everyone else here." "Everyone else?" "There. Are 3 of us? We're 3? 1 died last month. Infection." Annie's face went dark. "Lisa and Jake are back at our camp. We've been trying to survive together." Casey helped Danny stand. She let him lean on her shoulder as they walked. He led her to a hidden entrance between two rocks. Inside was a larger cave system. The caves went deep into the ground. "Lisa, Jake," Danny called out. "We have company." A woman appeared from deeper in the cave. She was tall and thin with red hair. Behind her came a man with blonde hair and green eyes. Both looked surprised to see Casey. "Another exile?" the woman asked. This was Lisa. "Lieutenant Casey Brooks," Casey said. "Arrived yesterday." Jake stepped forward. "What did you do to get sent here?" Casey told them about the colony raid, about saving the civilians, about refusing to follow orders. The three listened without saying anything. "So you chose people over politics, too," Lisa said finally. "That's why I'm here. I was a scientist working on alien technology. I found out they were doing experiments on human prisoners. When I tried to stop it, they accused me of treason." Jake's story was similar. He had been a pilot ordered to bomb refugee ships. He had refused and been sent here to die. "How long have you been here?" Casey asked. "Lisa and I arrived a year ago," Jake said. "Danny came 8 months later. We found each other by accident. Been working together ever since." They showed Casey around their camp. The caves were bigger than she had thought. They had found ways to collect water from underground streams. They had built beds from rocks and salvaged materials. They had even made a small workshop area. "Where did you get all this stuff?" Casey asked, pointing to tools and equipment she did not recognize. Lisa smiled for the first time. "That's the interesting part. This planet is not as dead as they told us." She led Casey deeper into the caves. In a large chamber, strange blue lights glowed on the walls. The lights came from living things that looked like moss. Small creatures moved in the shadows. Water dripped from the ceiling into pools. "There's life here," Lisa said. "Not much, but enough. The blue moss gives off light. The water is clean. There are small animals we can eat. We've been living off this place for months." But that was not the most interesting discovery. Jake led Casey to another chamber. This one was full of metal objects and strange devices. "Alien equipment," Jake said. "Fresh. Some of it was still warm when we found it." Casey looked at the objects. She recognized some of them from her military training. Communication devices, weapons, navigation equipment. All of it was Zephyrian technology. "They've been here recently," Danny said. "We think they're using this planet as a base." "A secret one. But why?" Casey asked. "The government said this place was empty. Dead?" Lisa's face went hard. "Because the government is lying. We think they're working with the Zephyrians. This planet is perfect for hiding things. No one comes here except exiles, and exiles are supposed to die." Casey felt cold despite the warm cave air. "You think our own government is helping alien raiders?" "Look at the evidence," Jake said. "They send military people here to die. People who ask too many questions. People who won't follow orders. People who might figure out what's really happening. And the aliens use this place to plan their attacks," Danny added. "We've been watching them. They come and go in small ships. They leave equipment. They have meetings." Casey sat down hard on a rock. Everything was starting to make sense. The court-martial had been too fast. The evidence against her had been too perfect. They had wanted to get rid of her. "How many others know about this?" she asked. "Just us," Lisa said, "and now you. The question is, what do we do about it?" Casey looked at the three faces staring at her. These people had been surviving on this horrible planet for months. They had found food and water. They had discovered the alien conspiracy. They had stayed alive when they were supposed to die. "We fight back," Casey said. Danny smiled. "It was the first real smile she had seen since arriving. "I was hoping you would say that." That night, they sat around a small fire and made plans. They had alien equipment to study. They had a hidden base. They had military training. Most importantly, they had nothing left to lose. "First, we need to learn how their technology works," Lisa said. "I can figure out the communication devices. Maybe we can listen to their messages." "I can work on the weapons," Danny said. "My leg is getting better. Give me a few days, and I'll be ready to fight." "I know how to fly their ships," Jake added. "If we can get one working, we can get off this planet." "Warn people," Casey nodded. "Good, but we need to be careful. If they find out we're alive, they'll send more people to kill us." "Let them come," Danny said. "We've got caves full of hiding places. We know this planet better than they do. And we've got something they don't have." "What's that?" Casey asked. "Danny's." Smile got bigger. "We've got nothing left to lose. That makes us very dangerous." Casey looked around at her new friends. Yesterday, she had been alone and ready to die. Today, she was part of a team. A team that was going to fight back against the people who had betrayed them. The aliens thought they could use this planet to hide their plans. The government thought they could send troublemakers here to die. Both of them were about to learn a very important lesson. Never underestimate humans who have been pushed too far. 2 weeks later, Casey heard the sound of another ship landing. She was checking water traps near the cave entrance when the noise echoed across the rocks. Another exile was being dropped off to die. She ran back to warn the others. Danny was working on alien weapons in the workshop. His leg was much better now. Lisa was studying communication devices at a table made from flat rocks. Jake was repairing damaged equipment. "Another ship," Casey said. "Someone new is here." They had talked about this. More exiles would come. The question was whether to help them or stay hidden. Helping people was dangerous. But leaving them to die felt wrong. "I'll go look," Casey said. "Stay here." She took water and food with her. The new exile was probably scared and hungry. Casey remembered her first day on this planet. The fear and hopelessness. She found them near the landing site. Not one person, but two. A woman and a man, both looking around in panic. The ship was already gone. They stood next to a small pile of supply boxes. Casey watched them from behind rocks. The woman was young, maybe 25, with black hair. She wore the clothes of a technical specialist. The man was older, maybe 40, and moved like a soldier. After an hour of watching, Casey decided they were safe. She walked out from her hiding place, with her hands visible and empty. "Don't shoot," she called out. "I'm here to help." Both people spun around. The man had a knife in his hand. The woman held a broken piece of metal. "Who are you?" the man asked. "Casey. Brooks. I was exiled here 3 weeks ago. There are others. We have food and shelter." The woman started crying. Not from sadness, but from relief. "Thank God. I thought we were going to die here." "You might still die here," Casey said honestly. "But not today. Come with me." She led them back to the caves. On the way, she learned their names. Maria Lopez was a computer expert who had found secret files about government deals with aliens. Ryan Clark was a military doctor who had refused to perform experiments on alien prisoners. Danny, Lisa, and Jake welcomed the new arrivals. They shared food and explained about the planet, about the alien base, about their plans to fight back. "How many more are coming?" Maria asked. "Hard to say," Jake replied. "They send people here whenever someone gets too close to the truth." Ryan looked around the cave. "This is actually pretty good. You've built something real here. Wait until you see the rest," Lisa said. Over the next month, 3 more ships arrived. Each one brought new exiles. Ben Parker, an engineer who had refused to build weapons for alien allies. Kate Miller, a pilot who had seen government officials meeting with Zephyrian leaders. Sam Taylor, a communications officer who had intercepted messages about planned attacks on human colonies. Casey found herself becoming the leader of the group. People looked to her for decisions. She organized work schedules, food distribution, and security patrols. The caves were becoming a real base. Lisa made the first breakthrough with alien technology. She figured out how to use their communication, devices to listen to Zephyrian messages. They're planning something big, she told the group one evening. A coordinated attack on 5 human colonies, all happening at the same time. When? Casey asked. 3 weeks from now. Danny slammed his fist on the table. We have to warn someone. Who? Jake asked. The government is working with them. The military command is compromised. Who's going to believe a bunch of exiles? Casey stood up and walked to the cave entrance. She looked out at the rocky landscape that had become their home. In the distance, she could see lights from an alien camp. The enemy was right there, planning to kill innocent people. We don't need anyone to believe us, she said. We stopped them ourselves. Maria looked up from the computer she was building. How? There are only 8 of us. 9, Ryan corrected. Ben will be ready to fight in a few days. His broken ribs are healing. 9 people against how many aliens? Kate asked. Casey smiled. It was not a nice smile. Doesn't matter. We know this planet better than they do. We have their own technology, and we have something they don't expect. What? Sam asked. Humans who are really, really angry. They spent the next week planning. Lisa worked on hacking alien communication systems. Danny and Ryan prepared weapons from salvaged alien technology. Jake and Kate studied enemy ship movements. Ben and Maria built tools and equipment. Casey coordinated everything. She felt like a real military officer again. These people trusted her. They followed her orders. They believed in the mission. First target is their communication center, Casey explained, pointing to a map they had drawn on the cave wall. If we can destroy that, they can't coordinate their attacks. Second target is their fuel depot, Danny added. No fuel, no ships. Third target is their command post, Jake said. Take out their leaders. Lisa looked worried. What if we fail? What if they catch us? Casey looked at each person in the cave. These were good people. Brave people. People who had been thrown away because they cared more about doing right than following orders. Then we fail fighting, Casey said. That's better than living on our knees. The night before the mission, Casey couldn't sleep. She walked to the cave entrance and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there were human colonies full of families, children sleeping in their beds. People who didn't know death was coming for them. Danny joined her. His leg was completely healed now. He was ready to fight. Scared? He asked. Terrified. Casey admitted, but not of dying. I'm scared of failing. Those colonies are counting on us, even though they don't know we exist. We won't fail, Danny said. Look what we've built here. A month ago, this was a dead planet where they sent people to die. Now it's home to the most dangerous resistance cell in the galaxy. Casey laughed. Is that what we are? A resistance cell? What else would you call us? She thought about it. They had built a base. They had weapons. They had a mission. They had a team willing to die for each other and for innocent people they would never meet. I think we need a flag, Casey said. The next morning, Maria showed her something she had made. It was a banner created from pieces of torn fabric and alien materials. In the center was a simple symbol, a human fist crushing alien shapes. I worked on it all night, Maria said. I figured every resistance needs a symbol. Casey held the banner. It wasn't pretty, but it was theirs. It represented everything they had built on this dead planet. Everything they were fighting for. Perfect, she said. We'll plant this on every alien base we destroy. Ryan had been keeping track of their small victories over the past weeks. Sabotaged equipment. Destroyed supply caches. Alien patrols that never returned from their missions. Current kill count is 47 confirmed, he reported. Plus unknown numbers from the supply raids we disrupted. Casey nodded. They were already making a difference. But tomorrow would be the real test. Tomorrow they would either save 5 colonies or die trying. She looked around at her team. Her family. These people had been sent here to disappear. Instead, they had become something the aliens never expected. They had become hope. The attack began at dawn. Casey and her team moved through the rocks like shadows, using paths they had learned over months of exploring. Each person knew their job. Each person was ready to die if necessary. Danny and Ben went after the fuel depot. They carried bombs made from alien power cells and human engineering. Kate and Sam targeted the communication array. Their job was to cut off alien contact with their fleet. Casey, Lisa, Jake, Ryan, and Maria would hit the command center. Everything went wrong in the first 5 minutes. The aliens were waiting for them. Someone had discovered their plans. Alarm sounds filled the air as soon as Casey's team got close to the command center. Energy weapons started firing from hidden positions. It's a trap, Jake shouted, diving behind a rock as alien energy blasts burned the air around him. Casey's mind raced. How did the aliens know? Had they been watching the caves? Had someone betrayed them? There was no time to figure it out now. Change of plans, she yelled to her team. Split up and cause as much damage as possible. Lisa ran toward the communication equipment with a bag full of explosives. An alien soldier appeared in front of her. She shot him with a stolen energy weapon and kept running. The blast from her homemade bomb lit up the morning sky. Ryan and Maria went after the weapon storage area. They moved together, covering each other as they fought through alien guards. Maria's computer skills helped them override security systems. While Ryan provided medical support and covering fire, Casey and Jake pushed toward the main command building. Alien soldiers were everywhere now. The peaceful planet had become a war zone in minutes. Energy blasts burned rocks. Explosions shook the ground. The smell of smoke and alien blood filled the air. There, Jake pointed to a tall alien in decorated armor, obviously a commander. Take him out. Casey raised her weapon, but the alien commander was already moving. He was fast and smart. He used his own soldiers as shields while he tried to escape to a waiting ship. Jake ran after the commander. Casey followed, fighting through alien guards. She could hear explosions from other parts of the base. Her team was doing their jobs, but at what cost? An alien soldier jumped out from behind a rock. Casey spun and fired. The energy blast caught him in the chest. He fell backward, his weapon flying through the air. Casey didn't stop to check if he was dead. She reached the landing area just as Jake tackled the alien commander. Both of them fell to the ground, fighting hand to hand. The alien was stronger, but Jake was desperate. He had a knife. The alien had claws. Casey couldn't get a clear shot. The two fighters were rolling around, each trying to kill the other. Then she saw Jake's knife go deep into the alien's neck. Green blood sprayed across the rocks. Command center destroyed. Maria's voice came through their stolen communication device. But Ryan is hurt bad. Fuel depot is gone, Danny reported. Ben took shrapnel in the leg, but he's alive. Communication array is down, Kate shouted. Sam is helping me plant charges on their backup systems. Casey looked around the alien base. It was burning. Bodies lay everywhere. both alien and the few humans who had died fighting. Her team had done it. They had destroyed the alien staging area, but the victory came with a cost. Ryan was badly injured. Ben could barely walk. Sam had burns on his arms from an energy weapon. They were all running low on ammunition. And now she could hear the sound of ships in the sky. More aliens were coming. Everyone back to the caves, Casey ordered. Fighting retreat. Move. The trip back to their base was a nightmare. Alien ships flew overhead, searching for them. Ground forces followed their trail. Casey's team had to fight and run at the same time. They made it to the caves just as the first alien ship landed near the entrance. Casey was the last one inside. She turned and fired at the aliens trying to follow them, and ran deep into the tunnels. Seal the entrance. She yelled to Ben. Ben triggered explosives he had placed weeks earlier. The cave entrance collapsed, trapping them inside, but keeping the aliens out. They were safe for now, but they were also trapped. How bad is Ryan? Casey asked Maria, who was acting as their medic. Bad, Maria said quietly. He needs real medical help, more than I can give him. Casey looked at her injured friend. Ryan had saved lives by helping them destroy the alien base. Now he might die because they couldn't get him to a hospital. We need to get off this planet, she said. How? Jake asked. Our exit is blocked. The aliens control the surface. Lisa looked up from the alien communication device she was monitoring. I'm hearing reports from the alien ships. They're very angry. We didn't just destroy their base. We stopped their attack on the colonies. Good, Danny said through gritted teeth. He was bandaging Ben's leg wound. How many colonies were saved? All 5, Lisa said with a smile. The coordinated attack failed because they couldn't communicate with each other. Some of their ships never even launched. Casey felt a moment of satisfaction. They had done it. Despite the cost, they had saved thousands of innocent people. But they weren't done yet. What else are they saying? She asked Lisa. Lisa listened to the alien chatter for several minutes. Her face went pale. They're sending a full military force, not just a few ships. An entire battle group. They want to make sure we're all dead this time. Kate looked scared. How many ships? 20, maybe more. They'll be here in 2 days. Casey sat down on a rock and thought. They had 9 people, 3 of them injured. Limited weapons. No way. To escape, and a full alien military force coming to kill them. Most people would give up. Most people would wait to die. Casey Brooks was not most people. Ben, can you make more bombs? She asked. Ben looked up from his bandaged leg. With what materials? We've got caves full of alien equipment. Explosives, power cells. Everything we captured over the past months. I can make bombs, Ben said slowly. But what's the point? We can't fight 20 ships. Casey smiled. It was the smile of a predator who had just figured out how to trap her prey. We don't fight them in space. We fight them down here. In our caves, on our ground, by our rules. Danny started grinning. An ambush. The biggest ambush in history, Casey agreed. They want to come down here and finish us off personally. Fine, let them come. But they're going to learn something about fighting humans on our home ground. Over the next 2 days, they turned the caves into a death trap. Explosives in every tunnel. Ambush points at every corner. False passages that led to dead ends. Trip. Wires connected to bombs. The entire underground system became a weapon. Ryan was getting worse, but he insisted on helping. I'm a doctor, he said weakly, but I'm also a soldier. Give me a weapon and point me toward the enemy. When the alien ships finally arrived, Casey and her team were ready. They watched through hidden cameras as hundreds of alien soldiers landed. On the surface, The aliens were confident. They had overwhelming numbers. They had advanced weapons. They had air support. What they didn't have was knowledge of the cave system, or experience fighting desperate humans who had nothing left to lose. The first alien squad entered the caves. They never came out. The second squad went in to find the first. They disappeared too. By the end of the first day, 30 alien soldiers had vanished into the tunnels. They're getting scared, Lisa reported, monitoring their communications. Their commanders are arguing about what to do. Casey checked her weapon. Good. Scared enemies make mistakes. That night, the aliens tried a different approach. They sent in their best soldiers with the most advanced equipment. These aliens were specially trained for underground fighting. It didn't matter. This was Casey's planet now. These were her caves. The alien soldiers walked into trap after trap. Those who survived the explosives faced humans who knew every hiding spot and escape route. By the morning of the second day, the alien force had lost over 100 soldiers. They still hadn't found the main human base. They didn't even know exactly how many humans they were fighting. Their commanders are panicking, Lisa said with satisfaction. They're calling for more reinforcements. Casey looked around at her team. They were tired, hurt, and running low on supplies. But they were alive, and they were winning. Let them call for help, she said. The bigger the force they send, the bigger our victory when we beat them. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. Kate was monitoring the radio when she picked up a new signal. Not alien voices, human voices. This is Captain Jones of the human destroyer Liberty, the voice said. We are responding to reports of alien activity in this system. Any human forces in the area, please respond. Casey took the radio with shaking hands. A human military ship. Real help had finally arrived. This is Lieutenant Casey Brooks, she said into the radio. We are resistance fighters on the surface of Kepler 442c. We are under attack by alien forces. We could use some help. There was silence for a long moment. Then Captain Jones spoke again. Lieutenant Brooks? According to our records, you were exiled to a dead planet for court-martial violations. Casey looked at her team, her family. These people who had built a resistance movement from nothing, who had saved 5 colonies, who had turned a death sentence into humanity's greatest victory. Sir, she said into the radio, reports of this planet being dead have been greatly exaggerated. The human destroyer Liberty arrived just as the alien reinforcements showed up. Casey watched from the cave entrance as 2 fleets faced each other in the sky above her planet. Her planet. She realized that's how she thought of it now. This is Captain Jones, the radio crackled. We've got 20 human ships up here. The aliens are outnumbered 3-1. They're retreating. Casey couldn't believe it. After months of fighting alone, help had finally come. But she felt strange about it. Part of her was relieved. Part of her was almost disappointed that the fight was over. Lieutenant Brooks, Captain Jones continued, we're sending down medical teams and supplies. Hold your position. 2 hours later, Casey stood in the main cave and watched real military medics work on Ryan. They had proper equipment and medicine. For the first time in days, she believed he might actually live. Captain Jones came down with the medical team. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He looked around the caves with amazement. My God, he said. You've built a real base here. How many people are you? 9, Casey replied. Well, 8 now that Tom died last month. Jones stared at her. 8 people did all this? The reports we got said you destroyed an entire alien staging area, saved 5 colonies from coordinated attacks, killed over 200 enemy soldiers. We did what we had to do, Casey said simply. Jones shook his head. The government told. U.S. This planet was empty, a dumping ground for exiles. They said anyone sent here would die within weeks. The government lied about a lot of things. Danny said from where he was getting his leg checked by a medic. Over the next few hours, Casey told Jones everything about the alien base, about the government conspiracy, about being sent here to die for refusing to abandon civilians, about building a resistance from nothing. Jones listened without interrupting. His face got darker with each part of the story. The evidence is all here, Lisa said, showing him the alien equipment and intercepted communications. Government officials were coordinating with the Zephyrians, using this planet as a secret base, getting rid of anyone who might expose them. Jones took pictures of everything. This is going to cause a revolution back home, he said. When people find out what really happened here, heads are going to roll. What about us? Jake asked. Are we still exiles? Are we still criminals? Jones looked at the banner hanging on the cave wall. The simple flag Maria had made months ago. The human fist crushing alien symbols. It had become the symbol of their resistance. You're heroes, Jones said firmly. All of you. The government that sent you here is going to fall. The people responsible are going to prison, and you're going home with full honors. Casey felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope for a real future, but also sadness. This place had become home. These people had become family. What happens to the planet? She asked. That's up to you, Jones replied. Command wants to establish a permanent military base here. Use it to monitor alien activity in this sector. They want you to run it, Lieutenant. Full reinstatement. Promotion to Major. Complete command authority. Casey looked around the caves, at the workshops where Ben had built weapons, at the communication center where Lisa had decoded alien messages, at the medical area where Ryan was finally getting proper treatment, at the living spaces where they had become a family. What about my team? She asked. Full pardons, full reinstatement. They can serve under your command here, or transfer anywhere they want. Their choice. That night, Casey called a meeting. 8 surviving teammates sat around their old campfire. But now they had real food instead of scavenged alien rations. Real medical supplies instead of makeshift bandages. So, she said, we have choices to make. We can go home. Back to Earth. Or any other human world. Clean slate. Fresh start. Maria looked sad. I don't know if I have a home to go back to. My family probably thinks I'm dead. Or, Casey continued, we can stay here. Turn this place into the best military base in human space. Keep fighting the good fight. Danny grinned. You mean we get to keep being dangerous? More dangerous than ever, Casey confirmed. We'll have real ships, real weapons, real support. But the mission stays the same. Protect innocent people. Fight the aliens. Stop the bad guys. The vote was unanimous. They were staying. 6 months later, Casey stood on a new observation deck built into the highest cave. Below her, the planet had been transformed. Landing pads for human ships, training facilities for new recruits, workshops producing advanced weapons, communication arrays monitoring alien activity across 12 systems. But they had kept the original caves too, the places where they had first learned to survive, the workshop where Ben had built their first bombs, the communication center where Lisa had first intercepted alien messages. These were holy places now, reminders of what 8 desperate people could accomplish. Captain Jones, now Admiral Jones, came to visit regularly. He always brought news from home. The government trials are still going on, he told Casey during his latest visit. 17 officials convicted so far, including your old commander, Colonel Harris. Casey felt satisfaction at that news. Harris had sent her here to die. Instead, he had created the most effective resistance leader in human history. "What about recruitment?" she asked. "We have more volunteers than we can handle," Jones replied. "Everyone wants to train at Haven Base. Everyone wants to learn from the team that turned a death sentence into humanity's greatest victory." Haven Base. That had become the official name. Though the original team still called it Payback when they were among themselves, Ryan had recovered completely. He now ran the medical training program, teaching combat medics how to save lives in impossible situations, and led the engineering course, showing people how to build weapons from scrap. Kate and Sam ran the communication division, intercepting alien messages across the galaxy. Danny commanded the Special Forces training program. He taught new recruits how to fight like humans who had nothing left to lose, how to turn disadvantage into advantage, how to make the enemy afraid. Lisa headed the intelligence division. She had become the galaxy's expert on alien technology and communications. Her intercepted messages had prevented 12 more alien attacks on human colonies. Maria led the technical support division. She built the computers and systems that kept the base running. She also maintained the memorial wall that had become the heart of Haven Base. The memorial wall showed their true victory. Not the aliens they had killed, but the humans they had saved. Thousands of names covered the wall. People from the 5 colonies they had saved in their first major victory. People from the 12 attacks they had prevented since then. Children who were alive, because 9 exiles had refused to give up. Current save count is 18,437 confirmed, Maria reported during their weekly meeting, plus unknown numbers from the supply raids and intelligence we've provided to other human forces. Casey nodded. That was the number that mattered. Not how many enemies they had killed, but how many friends they had saved. "What's our next mission?" Benny asked. Lisa looked up from her intelligence reports. "I'm tracking increased alien activity in the Kepler 438 system. 3 colonies there, all of them in danger." "How long do we have?" Casey asked. 2 weeks. Maybe less. Casey looked around the table at her team. Her family. 6 months ago, they had been 9 desperate exiles with nothing but stolen alien equipment and righteous anger. Now they commanded the most effective military base in human space. But they were still the same people at heart. Still the people who chose to save innocents over following orders. Still the people who refused to give up when the odds were impossible. "All right, people," Casey said. "Let's go save some lives." As her team filed out to begin preparations, Casey walked to the memorial wall. 18,000 names. 18,000 people who were alive because a few humans had been sent to die and chose to fight instead. She looked up at their banner, still hanging in the place of honor. The simple flag that had become the symbol of human resistance across a galaxy. The human fist crushing alien shapes. Tomorrow, they would head out on another mission. They would face impossible odds. They might not all come back, but they would fight. They would save lives. They would show the galaxy what humans could do when they refused to surrender. Casey Brooks had been sent to die on a dead planet. 6 months later, that planet had a banner, a kill count, and the respect of every human in the galaxy. More importantly, it had a family that had chosen each other, a family that would never give up, a family that had turned exile into victory and death into hope. The planet they had called Payback was now Haven Base, humanity's sword and shield in the darkness. And Casey wouldn't have it any other way.